Hello wonderful people, it's Wild here. Today I'll be showing you how to build this beautiful medieval barn. This spacious barn and house combo would make a perfect addition to any medieval town or farmland build, or would make a great standalone base. I'll show you step by step how to create it and then give you some ideas for decorating your build at the end, so make sure you stay tuned. The materials you'll need for this build are on your screen now. Make sure you grab a few extra of each, as this will make it easier when you're building later. Here is the outline for our barn. You can see it's a 9x13 rectangle, and we've got some spaces in the outline where the doors are. Then in the darker grey concrete we have the posts for the stable part of the barn. You can put in an outline like this to help you build. If we come down here to look at the outline, you can see that there's 2 blocks between these 2 posts, and these posts are all 3 blocks apart. And then on this side of the build, on the left hand side, the posts start 3 blocks out and 1 block in, and then they're 5 blocks apart. Now that we've got that down, let's start building. We're going to begin by working on the foundation of the barn. Before we get building, I'm going to use a temporary block. I've got some white wool, but you could use anything. Dirt's fine. And I'm marking in a 3x3 square here where we've got our barn door. And then I'll mark in 2 blocks for where we've got our door on the left hand side. Now for the wall, we're going to be creating a texture like this. So you can see we've got stone brick, mossy stone brick and cracked stone brick. Then we've got some mossy cobblestone and then some mossy and regular stone brick stairs. And there's 2 ways you can go about doing this wall. You can either, and this is what I like to do in creative, create a wall like this just using one of your supplies, and then go in after you've got the shape and texturize like this, and just place in all of your other blocks until you end up with a texture that you're happy with. Or, and this is sometimes easier in survival when you've got limited supplies, you can mix up the supplies as you go creating the shape, and then you can always go back and change the texture later. I'll do one side with this survival method, and then I'll do the rest using how I would normally do it in creative. So I'm just going to start going in, and we're aiming to have a wall which is 4 blocks high, and we're just going all the way around this outline, leaving out where we've got our doors. It's up to you how many of each block you use, but you can always make adjustments later once you've got your base shape in if you're not entirely happy with the texture. Even in survival, I find with a material like stone brick, it can be really helpful just to create the plain stone brick wall all the way around like I did over there when I was texturizing, before going in with all your other blocks. It makes for a much easier, smoother process, especially when the main material like the stone brick isn't too tricky to get. But you can see it is possible to texturize as you go. It just might take a little bit more messing around to come up with the right look. When doing this, you definitely want to take a step back frequently to check you like how the texture is going. And you can always go back in and change things if you want. Let's go with some more mossy over here. Take a step back. I think I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm going to move on to the other sides, and for speed I'm going to go in and place in all of my stone brick first and then texturize. If you're looking for a great place to play Minecraft with some other awesome builders and redstoners, be sure to check out our Patreon. We have a multi-world server, and you can even get custom build designs and redstone help over here in the elite Patreon world. Okay, now I've got my base wall shape in, I'm going to start texturizing with my blocks. I like to stick to using just 1 block at a time when I'm doing this technique, and then I'll go back and switch to the next block. but you might find you like to texturize using all the blocks at once. When doing this kind of thing, it's really about finding a system that works best for you. Now I'm going to go in with my mossy cobblestone and add in some of that. Just as before, I'm making sure I take a step back frequently so I can check I like how it's going. Round to this side now. Let's put in some here, maybe one down there. And I think I'll put one up here. Now for the cracked stone brick, we're going to go in with some of that. You've got to keep in mind that the corners are obviously shared between two sides, so it has to look good from both sides of the build. So make sure you check around each corner as you make adjustments there. Okay, what do we have to add now? It's time for some stairs. You can have some of these facing out this way. This way you get kind of a worn texture and it looks almost as if the bricks might be falling apart. I think that might be good for this side. Maybe I'll place this one with a stair. Yes, I like that. Now onto this side of the build. I'm going to keep this one here as a solid block, so that way when I break my door there isn't a hole in the doorway. But I might put one more stair there. You know what? I don't think it needs it, but I will leave it as a mossy block. And round to this last side now. In with the stairs. Let's see. I think that might be just about it for here. Let's put maybe one more stair in here and I'll put it up that way. I think that we're good. Let's have a look all the way around now. We've got a great texture going. I can remove these temporary blocks as we now have our doorways marked in. And we've got a really awesome looking texture for this whole foundation level. Let's get working on the next part. Now we're going to add in the framing for the next story. I'm going to start by building up 5 high, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with these spruce logs in each corner. I'll then divide the front and back sides into 3 like this. So we've got 3 here and 3 here, and we have 3 posts. Then on the 2 longer sides of the build, I'll count 3 blocks in before adding in another post on both the ends. 1, 2, 3. And this should leave you with a 5 block gap in the center. I can then connect all of these at the top. While we've got these out, I'm going to add in some beams for the roof / floor of the lower level. So I'm just adding some beams going across like this. And this will just add some interest to the roof from below as we add in the slabs for the floor. Just like that. Now I'm going to go in with some dark oak stairs, and in all of the 3 wide sections here, I'm going to place 2 in the top corners. And then for the 2 5 wide panels, I'll place them in all of the corners. I'll then go across the bottom of each of the gaps with some dark oak slabs. Except I'm going to leave this one here on the left hand side of the front slab free at the bottom, as this is where our doorway will be. I am going to add a row of slabs though, 2 blocks up, just all the way across like that. I'm then going to place a stair so it's facing towards the central post, and on top of that I'll add in a dark oak trapdoor. I'm also going to have 2 dark oak trapdoors on this side, and that's created our window frame. Or rather a door frame there. Then I'm going to come back down to the lower story. I'm just placing in some temporary torches for now, and I'm going to fill in the whole of this floor using some dark oak slabs. Once I've got a few of these in, we'll be able to look and see how the beams stick out below the slabs. It is a really awesome looking feature to add in your build, and it's so simple to do. You can also see it breaks up the dark oak on the flooring here for the second story and provides a little bit more interest. Just have to repair my wall from the outside here. There we go. While we're at it, we can add in some more beams for this next story. So I've got them going across like this. And this way as well. I'm then going to go all the way around the edges of these gaps like this with some dark oak blocks. And then I'll fill in the rest of the gaps, leaving room for a ladder somewhere with some slabs. I think I'm going to have my ladder just next to my doorway, so that would put it here. And look at this fantastic framing we've got going. The build is really coming together. For the next step, I've come up onto the top and I'm going to build 2 high on top of each of our already allocated post locations. And just as before, I'm going to connect these up along the top edge. Then along the front and back, I'll have some posts coming out like this. And then along the side edges, I'll do it 1 block below. I'm also going to count in 1 block, and on this centered block here on each of the sides, I'll build up 2 high. So it looks like that from the front, and I'm going to do that on the back as well. So that way, when we start putting in our walls, I'm going to show this with a temporary block here, you can see we're already creating the point of a gable. While I've got these spruce logs out, I'm going to come to these posts along the side and build up 4 high on each of the locations. The 2 closest to the build, I'll just build up 2 high. And then on these ones around on this side, I'll also build up 2 high. We've got all of this framing in, so let's add in some walls. Before we add in these walls of sandstone and smooth sandstone, I'm popping in a few temporary torches, and I'm also going to grab some white wool to mark in the location of windows. I'm doing this from the inside, I just find it easier to visualize. So we've got the door obviously behind our door frame. Then we've got these 2 windows here which are off to one side of the center of the 5 high window, and you can see for all these locations I'm marking them 1 back from where we have the post. Then at the back we have 2 windows centered in these 3x3 areas like this, and then we have 1 window here at the front centered in the gap. Now that all of those are marked in, I can switch over to my sandstone and my smooth sandstone. I'm just going to be using a little bit of sandstone here and there to give the walls an aged texture. Like we did with the lower story, you could build the whole wall out of the smooth sandstone and then go back and texturize later. And you can either do this from inside or outside of the build, it's whatever works best for you. Just going to start placing in these blocks. I can always change up the way I've texturized something later, but I just want to start adding a little bit of interest to these smooth walls. You could also opt to mix in a little bit of sand if you'd like. I'm going to take a step back and check I like the distribution, and I think it's looking pretty good. Once again, remember that the corners of this build wrap around, so whatever happens on the corner of the wall will be visible from the other wall. So as I come around here, we've got that sandstone down there. And we'll place in those. Then going in with some more of the sandstone to fill in the next wall. And our last 2 blocks here. Oh, and one more up there. Once you've got the outside of these walls looking right, you can go ahead and break any of these temporary blocks, and you'll see when I come inside the build that there are these gaps in the walls. Now you can either leave those, it's a great idea in survival to tuck some barrels in there for extra storage, or you can go ahead and fill those in using some of the sandstone. It's just up to you based on the look you want for the interior of your build. There we go, interior's all ready, and we've got our walls for the second story. Next I'm going to go around this layer here, and I'm placing the sandstone for this layer directly in between the posts. Just like that. I'm going to go in with another placeholder block to put a window kind of in the center of this one block up, and I'll have that on the back as well. Then I can place in some sandstone in these corners here to start the point of our gable. I'll then surround this window as well with my sandstone. And I need to go up one more layer above here and then one in the center. Like that, we've got our gables in. I can remove these temporary holders, and we are ready to add in some more detail. I'm going to start these details by going in and adding in my staircase. So I'm placing in 2 of these dark oak slabs here. I'll then use a temporary block so I can place an upside down stair here. Then I'm going to start zigzagging my way down to create my staircase. And when I get to this point here where you can see I'm 2 blocks above, I'm going to place in a slab here, a stair coming off of that like this, and I'm going to change the direction of my zigzag so that way I'm coming down towards the door. So it should look like this. I'll then use some spruce trapdoors to create a railing here. You can see I'm using some other spruce trapdoors here as a temporary block, but you could just use dirt, like that. And I'm going to use some dark oak fences just to add some supports for the staircase. Let's go in with some more dark oak trapdoors now. I'm going to place these along the bottom all the way around the build. When it comes time to add in our little kind of wood shed on this side, we might need to remove these, but for now I've placed them in just for simplicity's sake. I'm also going to place these around the top of the build here, where all of our posts and beams join. Just like that. I'm going to come inside the build now, and I'll add in my ladder. And in fact, I'm going to need to move my space over 1 block. There we go. And I'm also going to add in all these trapdoors for the windows. So instead of using glass on this build to really achieve a medieval look, I'm going in with some oak trapdoors. So I've filled in all those gaps. Let's come up and fill in these gaps here at the top. Marvelous, you can see how great that looks from the outside. I'm going to be using some spruce trapdoors as our window shutters here. So I'm going to place those in. And I'm just placing these to one side of these windows. Like that. And now we can go and add some details to the stables here. I'm going to start by creating the fences. So for these fences, I'll place in some dark oak fences themselves and then place some dark oak slabs above that. I'm going to divide these first couple of stables up like this. Then for this next one, I'm going to leave it as 2 groups of 3 wide, but I'll put some fences around the outside. I'm then going to create some archways using some stairs. And some slabs as well. And then to finish this off, I'll add in a dark oak fence, and you might need to use a temporary block here to place in your last stair so it looks like that. And I'll do that on the other end as well. There we go. As for the fence on the other side of the build, we're going to go in with our dark oak fences as well, and then we'll place the slabs on top again. We're going to move back up to the top of the build now before we get adding in our roof to add in some gable dormer windows. So we're going to be creating these really cute little points here, and I'm starting off by placing in these 4 stairs like this. This is on the left hand side of the build. I'll then build up 3 high on top of each of these stairs. I'm coming back out of the build here just to get a better look at what I'm doing. I'm going to create the little point of the gable using some sandstone and smooth sandstone, like that. And I'll come inside to place in my oak trapdoors for the windows. I can also at this time go in and add in my window shutters, like that. I'm going to grab some dark oak slabs now and place 3 across the base of these dormers. I'll build out 2 from either end of our large gables with some spruce logs. And then down at the doorway of this build, I'm going to place a trapdoor here, and I'm going to be hanging a lantern from this. Let's get roofing. For the roof, we'll be using a mixture of mud brick and bricks. We're going to start on the stable roof. We're going to be going up by a slab to create a narrow slant. So the first row is just going to go straight in front like this. I'm going to build the whole thing out of the mud brick to begin with, and then I'll go in and add in some of the brick afterwards. The next layer will just sit on top of here. And I'm making it too thick like this so it has a nicer slope. Once again, I'll add 2 on here and 2 here, and then just travel along. 2 and then 2, and up another layer, 2 and 2, and then travel along. Almost at our last layer now. And for the last layer, we'll just connect up to the walls and then add in between these gaps. So it should look like this one looking from the side, and like this one looking from the front. Now if you don't have access to brick, you could easily just leave it look like this, it still looks great. But if you do have access to brick, you can go in and add in a few here and there just to break up the texture and add a little bit more visual impact. It's entirely up to you how many of the brick you add. It's just like the texturizing, you want to take a step back, go in and make a few changes, step back again and look at what you've done. Looking good. Let's add a few down here now. And some to the edges. I'm also going to come to the edge of the build, and I can adjust where I've got a few of the bricks on the edge so that the very end of the roof is texturized as well. I think I can have one more there. That looks fantastic. We're going to do a similar thing for the main roof, going in with the mud brick and then adding in some brick for texture later. So let's start on this right hand side of the roof. We're just going to be following along the slope we created with the gable with the stairs. The first 2 rows are easy as we're just placing those on the wall. Then I'll make my way up. Placing stairs can be a little tricky, but just be patient. You can see I'm clicking in the back corner to make sure my stairs are facing the right way. I'm going to leave out the top for now and come round to this left-hand side. The first row I'm just going to go all the way across. And then we have our gables, so we need to start allowing space for them. I'll just skip over the 3 blocks here. And once again for the next layer. But then we're going to need to include them in our roof, so I'll just wrap around my stairs like this and continue along with the pattern. I'm leaving out the top of these gables as well. There we go, the base shape of the roof is in. Now let's do the top. For the small little dormer windows, I'm going to use some slabs. Then for the main roof, we want to add some texture. So I'm going to add a stair facing like this to create a small swoop. Then I'm going to go in with alternating 2 high slabs, 1 high slab, 2 high slab, 1 high slab. Now, of course, you could use blocks for these 2 high slabs, but I just prefer using slabs because I don't have to switch in my inventory. Then I get to the end and I do the point on the other side. You can see how great that looks. Also using some more of these stairs, I'm going to come underneath the build and just smooth off the edge by adding in some here, as well as to the gables. And for the gables, I'll face the center one forward. Or rather, the dormers. There we go. Now to go in with the brick and add some extra texture. It's these little extra steps that make a really big difference to a build. Texture can easily be overlooked, but it is one of those amazing things that can turn a great build into an extraordinary one. You can also switch out some of the top edge for some brick. And don't forget to do some of the edges of the roof that show with the brick as well. Now I think I'm done adding in the text here, but I'm just going to fly around the outside of my build and just check I like how it's all come together. I think I'm happy with this. I think that looks good. I like that end, that looks nice. And I think that texture looks good. I might break up this section just a little bit by moving around some of these stairs. Easy peasy, that looks great. And finally, I might just replace this stair with a brick one. Round at the left-hand side of the build here, I'm going to add in my little wood or hay shed. I'm going to count 2 blocks out and build up a 3 high post. Then I'll go 3 blocks across and add in 1 more. Then I'll just use some slabs to create a simple slanted roof. Starting on top and then coming forward 1. And I'll use a temporary block just to make my way up towards the wall. You can see I've had to remove this trapdoor here just so I can have my roof connect up. And like we did on the larger roof, I'm going to be using some brick slabs now to add a little extra texture. Just like that. Next Next, let's go in with some of these dark oak hanging signs. I'm going to place them so they're like this, going across between these beams that are sticking out here. And in Creative, if you hold Control and use your mouse to select click that sign, you can copy it over without any text, which makes it a lot easier to place a few of them, but it is still doable without this trick. I'm going to continue these on the two sides like this. It can be a little fiddly, but these little details make a big difference. Coming around to the front again and adding in some more. And onto this side as well. I want to hang some lanterns down from this beam that's sticking out. Let's see, I think I'm going to hang this one down too. And I'll do the same at the front. Just like that. I'm going to hang some lanterns underneath here. I think I'll come in and hang them right underneath this roof. And I want to hang one underneath my woodshed roof as well. I've also got some of these stone brick buttons, and I'm going to add these here and there to the lower story wall just to add a little bit more texture. Now that the structure of this build has really come together, we need to add a few more decorations and put it in a proper farm setting. So let's go and do that. Just adding in my last details now. I've got the door going in there and I've added one down on that doorway. I'm going to hang a few more lanterns around this build just for a little bit more light. There, and let's do this last window, I think. Alright, let's take a step back and you can see just how much decorating I've done. One thing that really makes a big difference with this build is draping some leaves over the top. I've gone with the birch leaves. I think they look great next to the brick as well as the mud brick. And you can see I've got them draping down right over the edges, coming over the ends of the roof and in between the joints between the dormer windows and the main roof. And this pop of green helps to break up the red and give it a more lived-in appearance, and that ties in well with the mossy blocks we've got going down on the base of the build. You can see I've also used these same leaves to create bushes around the garden area of my barn. And then I've gone and added some flooring inside the build as well. Now it will depend on what you're using this space for. If you've got this as a storage space, you might like to use some andesite tiles down here. I've got some animals in this barn, so I've gone with a natural looking flooring using some gravel, coarse dirt, and then I've got this coral here which provides the gravel-like texture but is a little bit different to the gravel itself. I've also got a pathway using the same gravelly texture, and then underneath the stable area and in the pen on the other side I've used a mixture of podzol and coarse dirt. As for other decorations around here, I've got a little chicken pen over here, and I think my chickens might have despawned, so that's a bit of a shame. I'll have to name tag them. But I've got some big wheat fields around here, lots of farming equipment, so we've got a well, of course some lighting, there's a scarecrow over here, and then we've got a water tower at the back for a little bit of height. If you'd like a tutorial on all of the decorations I've used around the outside of my build today, as well as more decorating ideas for the exterior and interior of your builds, make sure you check out the tutorials in the description. And of course, the fantastic thing about this barn is that you have this open space at the bottom, which is great for all of your farm animals, and then you have 2 stories worth of living space, so this would make a great survival base. So now you've got a stunning barn. If you've got Discord, feel free to join my server and share some pictures of your world. I'd love to see it, and I'd really appreciate it if you enjoyed today's video, if you consider liking and subscribing. It really helps me out. And check out my Patreon if you'd like to get some other awesome benefits. I'll see you in another video, and happy building!